This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm with John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. As always, a good top of the week to you.
And to you. Good to be here.
I've got a question for you before we get to the nuts and bolts of the state reopening. A lot of businesses here.
Yeah.
What are you going to do first? Are you going to go to the gymnasium? You're going to go to your barber? You're going to go to a restaurant and dine in? Or are you going to get a tattoo?
Well, this is actually something I've had heavy on my mind. I got a text from my barber who said, I've got you set for 10:20 Wednesday. Wear a mask. I'm fully compliant.
Do you want to be there on day one? Are you going to be the guinea pig?
But this is an issue because I put a lot of things to stay in touch with readers and people. I put a lot of little quips and things on the social media, and I said, you know, he must have seen me. My barber must have seen me somewhere. He said, you're here the first day, and wear a mask. And I've had others saying, well, it's about time, but many say, don't do it. Don't do it. It's still too risky.
Give me some percentages. Is it 50-50? Is it 2-1? What is it?
He's a one-man operation. He's in, so far as I know, asymptomatic. I want a haircut. I am 72.8% likely to go get a haircut Wednesday. But I'm telling you, that other 27 point whatever, I forgot what point.
2.
Who wants to die for getting a haircut, you know, or become ill? So I probably will because of knowing him and the circumstance. And I guess he can cut around the earpieces around the mask, I guess. Or maybe he's supposed to.
You may take your mask off while he's actually doing
Is that in the rules?
cutting. I don't know. I haven't seen any video of how this works.
Haircut first.
Okay.
Tattoo last.
Okay. I think you're going restaurant before you're going gym.
Yeah. And I could see within a few weeks having nerve enough to go to a restaurant. I could, probably. But it's all very trepidatious. And it causes you to think. This is not my original quip. A man who actually is a lobbyist, who didn't want to be quoted, who said I could have the line. He said, this week in Arkansas is the week you can go get a tattoo but not get a cavity filled. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think dentists are May 18th. It's
Right.
a little bit down the road there.
There's a reason for that having to do with the aerosol nature of dentistry and the oral work of dentistry, you know, and more
It's going
regulation.
to be better in 2 weeks.
I don't know, but it gives them more time to set up. But the bigger question is, why are tattoos up there with barbers and salons? Tattoos? Do they have a good lobby?
They fall into the same category
Okay.
of one person
At any rate.
operations,
At any rate.
operating on one person for some sort of.
If you got to have a tattoo right now, but you don't need any cavities filled till next week, this is your Arkansas this week.
So we talk about this every week, but how does this play out? What does the governor watch for to determine whether or not they reopened parks and gyms and restaurants and dentist offices and return to procedures in hospitals and medical clinics? What do they watch for? What's their metric to say it's still safe to do this?
I think they watch for any, say, 2-day, 3-day spike in cases. I mean, I don't know how much of a spike, but like, whoa, today may be an aberration. They go up and down. Second day up, third day up, and maybe a hot spot somewhere where people have been doing some of these things. And then but the governor will not close down everything. I think you'll see him begin to close down whatever activity he presumably can track the increase to. Like, well, we're going to have to shut down the parks, or we're going to have to not do the restaurant thing right now. That would be, I would suspect, what would cause a retreat. I don't think we didn't have a wholesale shutting down in the first place, and I don't think we would have a wholesale retreat initially. Anyway, we would try. And I don't know how much contact tracing we've got, but they're bragging that they've got 180 people. So I don't know if that's enough. But anyway, you got a quip you want to say?
Well, no, we have some beatbox driving by us in the car there, so just a little background music for folks there.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know what the metric is either. Hospitalization seems to be one that they track pretty closely there.
They do, and they're proud of the low hospitalization rate. But if, in any way coincidental to this opening, there is a 2 or 3 day spike of some note, I think they got to start reining in something if they can identify what
and
that
it's
is.
possibly we'll see other states who opened before us on a more widespread basis may be more the blueprint of how we kind of watch.
The governor's actually said that. He's watching Oklahoma and Georgia, and it's better to go after. So I haven't heard of anything spiking in those
No, I think
states.
Georgia's had a few things that they're watching closely, so we'll see.
And of course, they can always say for just an aberration, well, we're testing so much better now. Now we're getting more cases, so that could be a factor as well.
Yep.
No, any 2 or 3 day spike coincidental to this reopening would be, I think, a reason to rethink.
Let's stay in the same circle
Sure.
here. There have been a lot of protesters, not necessarily in the state of Arkansas in this respect, but a lot of people calling for government to open. I think Michigan has been one of the more
Right.
widespread areas here. Ohio, we've seen some. Other places around the country too. Why do you think we hadn't seen it here?
Wasn't there one day of a small group, a small demonstration at the Capitol, I think?
I've seen some on Twitter, mostly legislators that have thrown out, it's time to reopen some stuff, but I don't recall. I mean, there may have been somebody up at the Capitol, so it wasn't a very big group.
My thought is that most of these that we've seen so far are are not organic, they're organized by right-wing groups. And if some network, some right-wing talk show host or some right-wing group fires people up to do that, and it has, that dynamic has not been in play in Arkansas as it has been in those states. I don't believe it suggests that we're more moderate than Michigan or Ohio, or our conservatism can be any less rabid than theirs. It's just I think these things have largely been orchestrated, and that hasn't. We don't have an orchestra here as yet for that.
Maybe we don't have enough protesters with assault-style weapons that can storm the Capitol and do their protesting.
Well, you need numbers for that kind of thing, and we're kind of spread out, and that's fortunate that we don't have that. Those are bizarre, troubling scenes. Protest is one thing, and fair. I don't think your government has the right to tell me I can't work. I'm protesting. But this armed militia thing invading our seats of government, open carrying stuff, that's wild. That's
State
worrisome.
law, though, isn't it?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. Second Amendment, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what has been going on with the governor put together a program. Maybe they didn't cross all of their T's and dot all of their I's before they rolled this program out to spend $15 million for small businesses to get money for protective equipment, sanitizer, thermometers, all that stuff. Then the number goes up to another $85 million. Then I think it's dialed back down. I think it's $55 million today is what is
An additional
available.
40. Additional 40 with the 15. Yes.
Yes.
They wanted the governor's office proposed an additional 85 to 100 million. Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the political dynamics at work there. Number one, a bit of a stumble by the Hutchinson administration. Number one. Number two, legislative pushback about how much money is going to be spent on all this and the procedure and the protocol and all that. So
This is real interesting to me, and I'll try not to ramble because I tend to when I get into a subject, and this is my tomorrow column. But I have said and encouraged some liberal resistance. Oh, the people are coming around. That we're fortunate that Ace Hutchinson is so pragmatic and that he runs government well, and thank goodness he had that homeland experience and federal administrative experience, and he just has a moderate, cautious, efficient nature, kind of micromanages, but we can trust that government is being run well. This one incident is not that. I'm not saying it blows that all to pieces, but this is clearly the antithesis of that. $15 million out of a small, relatively small, opening allotment out of the CARES Act money, which is $1.25 billion. $1.25 billion they got to spend. And okay, we're telling these people to go back, they can reopen, but we're raising their expenses because they've got to do all these things in order to reopen and abide by our guidelines. So let's use $15 million, let them apply for it. But this was, I put it this way tomorrow, the federal government printed the money and the state government fumbled it. Basically, this opening $15 million of the CARE Act feeds this cynicism that people have that one, government can't do anything right, and two, insiders get the benefit. That's all it did, which is a lot. It was a very troubling blunder.
Let me interrupt. Did insiders get the benefit because none of the money has been distributed?
Money's not gone out. Money's not gone out. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Money's not gone out. And it may have been repaired, but you asked the political, and the Senate has a lot to say. Senate has a lot to do with that. So they're supposed to get legislative sign-off, legislative council sign-off before this goes up.
There was a big debate about that around the fiscal
And
session.
of course they should. A governor can't spend $1.25 billion without somebody watching him. So yeah. And they're supposed to have a sign-off before they start. The State Department of Commerce spent the afternoon calling certain, I don't mean favoritism, just doing some standard, hey, Cabot Chamber of Commerce, hey, Russellville Chamber, hey, Arkansas Hospitality, look here, we got this thing, you be looking, we got this money coming up, get in there and get your people. Trying to be informative.
Yeah.
But
the governor had announced it at his 1:30 press conference.
The website goes active at 5 o'clock that day. The legislature has not yet signed off, so the law has been violated. And people who happen to be, I don't say politically connected, but in the know, people who maybe they got a lobbyist, maybe they're close to their association, maybe they got the first call from the Chamber of Commerce. They lined up and got it on a first come, first served basis. You're right, the money has not been spent yet. And it won't be, and it's all now in flux. But at the time it was, hey, the money's gone in an hour. And some guy out here who hadn't heard from his Chamber of Commerce or his association, or doesn't have a lobbyist, who finally finds out about it, who goes on it the next morning and says it's gone. It was gone in an hour last night, is wondering, what the heck? So the appearance of advantage for certain people in the know, which is a common criticism of politics, and that government can't run anything efficiently, which you hear a lot. Both of those were nourished by this matter. Politics of it, the state Senate, and then I'll wait for another question, but the state Senate, I have said, has operated in recent years largely as an adjunct of the governor's staff, because Senator Jim Hendren is the president pro tem, he's the governor's nephew, he's a good guy. And I pretty much trust his skills, and recently the Senate had a new president pro tem election and elected the non-Hutchinson endorsed, non-Hendren sanctioned successor. And Jimmy Hickey, the guy who got it, has said he believes the Senate he's a Senate institutionalist and the Senate ought to rise up. In this case, the Senate did rise up. The Hutchinson administration came in and said, we'll fix this. We'll throw $85 million more at it. And the Senate said, whoa. Missy Irvin says, how about some strategic planning? I mean, we're going to spend $100 million, an eighth of this thing, right now? She said, in a phone, she said, this is like the state's a cash register. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And it turned out she wasn't representing the new era of the Senate, a post-Hendren era. Hendren was right there with them. I've got a quote from Hendren tomorrow. Said, man, this was, what a mess. And they made it. So all of that is to say it's fixed today, we think. They don't get another $100 million, they get another $40 million, which covers what they think is the number of people who were trying to apply who couldn't, who were shut out. So it's down $55 million, and it'll be a 2-day, get this. Why couldn't they have done this to start with? A 2-day application period with notice. Hey everybody, you've got Wednesday and Thursday to apply for this money, and everybody has a chance to be notified and to do it over this period. And it's not first come, first served. Some of it is set aside for minorities, some of it is set aside for women, some of it is set aside for the smaller businesses. That's That's all going to be fine. And government has worked here, and the political pushback has worked. But it was quite an avoidable blunder at the beginning, I think.
Sounds like good government prevails at the end, though, John. So.
Well, you're very positive, and yeah, it does, and that's good.
So I got to get your take on one more national story
All
here,
right.
kind of over the weekend, because of Friday morning. Joe Biden, the Democratic presumptive nominee, talks about the Tara Reid incident that has kind of been stirred up on the right, but as well as because of the Me Too movement as well. Do you think Biden handled that whole situation correctly? Do you think we will see this continue as a theme throughout this campaign, or did he put some of the concerns to rest?
I don't know that he put anything to rest. He handled it in the only way he could. He's on record, like all Democrats are, of saying women are to be believed. I mean, they've essentially said that in the past, and now, not this one though. But he has handled it by saying, what I mean is, she needs to have her case heard, and all cases need to be heard, but I'm telling you in this case, it is simply wrong. That's really all he can say. You can believe him or not. I guess that doesn't put it to bed, but it is the only acceptable, reasonable way to respond to something like this. As I said in the Sunday column, politics is the last place where we're going to make progress in terms of men behaving better toward women. Because if you get accused, you become president. If you say something highly offensive on a recording, you become president. We have 2 members of the Supreme Court, one accused of sexual harassment in the workplace, the other of an incident of supposed abuse years ago. The only guy in politics who paid a price is Al Franken. That I can, and he probably didn't have to quit.
Does it reopen the whole looking into it from the in terms of what President Trump's been accused of, because that has been attacked? You've seen a lot of Democrats nationally.
It may, but I mean, you mean yet more stories about the many women who said Trump had
more
behaved.
scrutiny of those cases. If you're going to scrutinize Joe Biden, the argument is you need to go scrutinize Donald Trump's cases.
Yes.
And there's been some new ones, so
Yes.
allegations.
Yes, I suppose so. I mean, that's the way newsrooms.
Is that what we want to talk about in our presidential election?
No, it's not that I certainly do not begin to trivialize the issue. I'm just telling you, we can talk about it. It can be sorted. We can allege on a partisan basis and deny on a which is what it comes down to, Roby. Republicans are going to side with Republicans and say it's not, and Democrats are going to side with the Democrats. And it's all about bigger issues of gender, meaning a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and the Supreme Court and which side gets to do that, and to appoint the judiciary. It's a very important issue, but it's not. But the last place we need to be obsessing on it is in our political dialogue, because either way, our next president is going to stand accused of bad sexual behavior in his past, right? Either way. Right. And we can spend our time going over all these cases, and I'm sure newsrooms around the country are deciding to do what you just said. We've got to now look more at Trump. Meanwhile, we need a government that can work. We need a government that can respond to a virus. We need a government that can address how much now is the deficit now that we've added $4 trillion?
$4 trillion, yeah.
Okay. Does that not matter? Somebody talk to me about something these guys have got something to do with.
Right.
And let's deal more in a more broad cultural and social sense with this very serious issue. I do believe we're making great progress in the workplace and in general attitudes of men's behavior toward women. We're making progress, but politics has literally nothing to do with it.
Yep.
It's the area that is not relevant.
Last question for you here.
Yes.
There is the possibility, although this morning as we are speaking, Arkansas State University says they plan to have their campus open and students back on campus. But just this weekend on our TV show, economist Mervyn Jebaraj and I talked about the fact that there may not be football games. There may not be college football this fall, because how are you going to get 50,000, 60,000 people in a stadium safely and protect them from a potential surge. If there is no college football, what happens to John Brummett's tweets about college football?
I may be forced into a retirement as a tweet troll. I'm one of the.
You don't think you could go back to like the Democrat Gazette has done and maybe tweet about great moments, high moments, and low moments in Arkansas sports history?
No. The way I do the Twitter trolling of the Razorback football games is the live dynamic. You can be watching the game, you can have your phone, and you just saw this crazy play, and here I'm already joking about it. That's the way. So I would hope that even if you can't have the fans, we'd have the games to empty stadiums. Just give me a chance to make fun of what's going on. I mean, I live for that. I do. I live for the right about a fake punt where a guy does this and they intercept and run him. That's just too rich. I got to have that kind of stuff. So the other thing that would hurt my Twitter trolling on the Razorbacks is if they got good. And I don't see that happening in the short term.
You'd probably start complimenting them, wouldn't you? You'd join the bandwagon.
I'd become a front runner. I was during the Petrino when we were going to the Sugar Bowl and being up to high as number 3. Yeah. I fell into that old Arkansas trap. So the Twitter's better if they're not any good. Chad Morris was very, very good for my Twitter.
He is John Brummett, not Chad Morris, but he's John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Always good to be with you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
All right, thank you. That's all for today's program. Thanks for watching.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.